Hello and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about the 7 books that I read in January. I will have timestamps linked below if you're interested in jumping around this video, but first I'm going to talk about some very simple stats for January. So I did read 7 books for a total of 2,761 pages, and I had a solid 3-star average rating. I didn't have a single 5-star read, which was pretty disappointing. The first 3 books that I'm going to talk about were mentioned in my reading vlog of reading books that my subscribers recommend to me. That was a very fun video. It's one of my favorite videos that I have done recently, so definitely go check it out. I will have it linked down below and in the cards if you are interested in it, but I'm going to briefly talk about 3 of those books really quick, just the title of them, the rating, and if you want to hear me talk about them in depth, definitely go check out that vlog that I did. I go into a lot of details about how I felt about these 3 books. But the first one that I read was The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillig, and this is a adult romantasy book. I gave this one 4 stars. So this one is following our main character Six. She is a diviner, and diviners are very upheld in the society that they live in. They are able to communicate with the gods and give out fortunes, and one day the diviners start going missing one by one, so Six takes it upon herself to partner up with this knight to go and look for the missing diviners. The next one that's in that video is How to Fail at Flirting by Denise Williams. I gave this one 2 stars. This one was definitely a bit of a disappointment for me. It is an adult romance, and it is following our main character who has some things going on with her job. She is doing her tenure right now, and the department that she is working in has the potential to be cut because it's not bringing in money, so she's very worried about that. But when she is talking to her friends tell her that she needs to not focus on work so much and to get out of her comfort zone, which leads her to create this list of things that she wants to do that she normally wouldn't, and one of those is to have a one-night stand. So this one is a romance book between her and this guy that she met at the bar, and yeah, this one just didn't do it for me for a variety of reasons. And the last book that I read in January specifically for that reading vlog is The Glass Castle by Jeannette. This one I decided to give a 3.5-star rating to. This one is a memoir all about Jeannette Walls' life and how her childhood was with her parents. This one was a very tough read. It is very traumatic in that there is a lot of child abuse and child neglect going on in this book, but I do think it was a really good book for what it was and what it was getting at. And I don't read too many memoirs, so I always have trouble describing how I feel about them because I never know what is considered a spoiler and what isn't. But yeah, I thought this was a pretty solid book. Okay, but on to the other 4 books that I read in January for no other reason than that I wanted to read them. So the first book is What Stalks the Deep by Kingfisher. This is book 3 in the Sworn Soldier series, and it is one that I decided to give 3 stars to. We are continuing on in the series of short horror novellas following our main character Alex, and in this one specifically they end up going to America to meet up with their friends, and they basically have to enter this cave system to try and find a missing person. Now I personally absolutely love this series. Book 1, What Moves the Dead, is one of my all-time favorite horror books. I gave it 5 stars, absolutely love it. Book 2, I believe I gave it 4 stars, and obviously this one I gave it 3 stars. The series just isn't doing as much as I wanted to anymore. What I love about book 1 is how horrifying it is and how gross and just the spooky atmosphere that it has to it. This one, I just didn't get any of those spooky horror vibes. For them being in this claustrophobic cave system, there is a creature in this cave system. I still just didn't get any of that horror vibe that I look for, obviously, when reading a horror book. So while I do still love these characters and this author's writing, and I do think the story for what it was very solid, it just didn't do what all I wanted a horror book to do. Then I read Vampires of El Norte by Isabel Canas, and I gave this one 4 stars. I was really taken aback by how much I enjoyed this story. It's a weird mix of genres. It's this Western historical war story, but it also has a very prominent romance to it. And of course, as the title suggests, there are vampires, so it does have a little bit of that fantastical horror element to it as well. This book, even though it has so many genre mashups in it, it worked so well for what it was. This story is following our two main characters, Nestor and Nina, and they are childhood best friends, and as they grow up, they sort of start developing feelings for each other. And one day, while they are sneaking out to hang out with each other in the middle of the night, an event ends up happening where Nestor believes that Nina is dead. And so he runs away because he believes that everyone in their town is going to blame him for it. And years later, we get these characters meeting back up together when war starts moving into their cities. The romance is a bit more of a Romeo and Juliet type of situation in that Nestor is very poor and he works for Nina's father, and obviously Nina has a lot of power and her family wants her to obviously marry someone rich who also has power. And yeah, I thought for what this book was, I was not expecting the romance to be as prominent as it was, but I feel like it was definitely the center of the story, and I really like their romance and their relationship dynamic of how they end up meeting back together and sort of re-exploring their feelings. I absolutely love the character development that went between these two characters. I thought it was wonderful. This book is also set in Mexico during the Mexico-American War, and I really liked the commentary that was going on in this book. I thought that was really amazing. And I also love how vampires were used to get that statement across in this book. And I just thought it was really well done. It really shocked me with how much I enjoyed it. But I definitely think that out of all the books I read in January, this one is my favorite. Next, I read volume 1 of Hunter x Hunter, and this is a manga series following our main character Gon, who lives on this very small island, and he wants to take the hunter exam. Volume 1 is doing a lot of setup into this world and the characters. I always have a lot of trouble with volume 1s of manga when it is setting up a fantasy world, just because volume 1 is usually a lot of setting up the world and the characters, and that's definitely what this one does. I will say I have watched the anime before, and it is one of my all-time favorites. I have rewatched it, I want to say 4 times now, and I love it. Again, it's one of my all-time favorite things, and I have never read the manga just because I never wanted to buy it, just because I feel like manga is very expensive for how fast I end up reading it, and so I wanted to read it from my library first to see if it was actually worth buying, and my library has never had any of the volumes until now. They finally got the first volume, and volumes 2 and 3 are also coming to my library soon. But I am really happy to finally start reading this series. And again, volume 1 was very solid, just a lot of setting up for this world, and I'm really excited to continue on with it. And the last book that I read in January was, of course, my least favorite book that I read, and that was The Wise Man's Fear by Patrick Rothfuss. This one I gave 1.5 stars. It is the second in the series. The first one is The Name of the Wind. I personally really enjoyed The Name of the Wind, and I was really looking forward to getting to the second one. And I've had it for a while just because I know that this author is taking many years to continue on the series, so I have held off on reading the second one. However, I thought it was terrible. But this one is continuing on from book 1. I will say the reason I gave it 1.5 stars instead of 1 star is just because for the first 300 pages, I did enjoy it. It continues where the first one left off, where our main character is at this university learning how to be an arcanist, and I really enjoyed that. After 300 pages, he does leave the university to take a gap year, and that is where this entire story fell off for me. I thought the plot was basically non-existent to that point. I felt like all the parts that we were learning in book 1 and then in the first 300 pages, and all the things that we were slowly questioning and wanting to continue the story to figure those things out, all of that pretty much drops away in this one. I feel like all the character development that our main character goes through is non-existent in this one. I I also think that the way this author ends up writing women was terrible. And especially the ending of this one, we're following our main character as he basically falls in love with this mystical woman, and it's just a whole bunch of sex scenes that were very unnecessary. They were also very badly written, and I just hated this book so much, and it's so disappointing because I loved the first one in the series so much. I did give book 1 5 stars, so I had very high hopes for this one, and I do know that I had seen other people talking about this book before and how book 2 is not as good as book 1. I just wasn't expecting it to be absolute trash. Again, the first 300 pages, I was so confused of why everyone was hating on this book because I thought it was such a solid beginning to a second in the series. And it just all fell off from there, and I definitely am not going to continue on in this series just because, again, everything the first book worked towards and made you question and made you want to continue on in the series means absolutely nothing in this one. And I have no clue why the author did what he did and the choices that he made when writing this book, but it was terrible. So, yeah. A sad, sad way to end off January. But those are the 7 books that I read in January. Thank you guys so much for watching this video and making it to the end. If you did make it this far, definitely comment down below what your favorite book of January was. And if you don't want to do that, leave me the little vampire emoji, since Vampires of El Norte was my favorite book of January. And again, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye!